Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Carrington. I'm so glad that you guys are here watching this video. If you enjoy talking about books, ranking books, and make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. If you guys like a mixture of books, all things book, all things makeup, then make sure you guys have subscribed. If you like one or the other, it's okay. Go ahead, subscribe. Click the little bell so you're notified of my uploads, whichever of those appeal to you. And let's get into today's video, which is going to be ranking and talking about all of the books that I read during the month of July. So I read 7 books. I had originally put 8 on my list. I read 7. 2 of the books I did not read. 1 is an extra one that I did read. I have already posted my video of like the books that I read versus what I didn't versus what I'm hoping to read in August. As for if that's how that pans out, we shall find out. But let's go ahead and let's dive on into ranking the books that I read in July. I will of course put my stars up over here, and this will be out of 5. So let's go ahead and let's start off with, in the very last place is going to be No One Rides for Free by Judith Sonnet. Now, check your trigger warnings. Literally, the cover should already be there enough to tell you that there's probably going to be some trigger warnings. If that doesn't, the back will tell you. It's only a book. It's only a book. So there's going to be substantial trigger warnings. There is trigger warnings before you read it. There are trigger warnings in the middle of it. So make sure if you have trigger warnings, you are checking that. But this is a deeply, deeply sadistic, no Satanism in there at all, but just like, wow. This is about a mom who is taking her kids back to college. You know, summer's over. She's taking them back to their college campus. So that way she can live her best life at home. They can live their best life out there at college until they come back, you know, over the breaks, as one does. She stops at a gas station, asks if any of them need to use the bathroom, if any of them would like to go inside for snacks. They say no. She says, well, I need to use the bathroom and I'm going to get some snacks. I know you guys are saying no to snacks. It's a long ride. I'm going to go get us some snacks. She goes in, comes back out, and starts driving away. She decides to take the scenic route, right? The route where nobody else is going. Nobody else is driving. And as she's starting to drive, she notices her kids aren't talking and they look terrified. And she's like, what the hell is going on? That's because in her back seat is a man with a gun. In her backseat is a man with a gun. And from here, the horrors unravel. And when I say horrors, I mean horrors. There is a lot of body gore in this. There is a lot of incestual relational things going on here. There's a lot happening in this book. It's not a very long book. It's really not. It's a really quick read. Depending on you and your reading style, you could maybe read this in even a day. It's 99 pages, so you could easily read this in one day, one sitting, depending on you and your reading style preferences. It's really short. But wow, just some of the most gruesome things happen. And from now on, I will forever lock my doors before I go in anywhere. 2, check the back seat before I get in. And 3, make sure if my kids are in the car, that the car is locked, windows up, and nobody is getting in. And then I'm also going to check. That's like the level of like paranoia this has placed into me whenever I'm going to be traveling. And I have to travel over, what is it called? Labor Day? In September? Is that Labor Day? Over Labor Day? No. Is that on Labor Day or Memorial Day? I always mess up on which two. Which one's March, or which one's May, and which one's September. And we are locking all the doors. Period. Coming in the 6th spot is going to be Family of Liars, which is the prequel to We Were Liars, which I have read. We Were Liars came out first, and then they did a prequel. This is a young adult book, but it definitely has a thriller aspect to it. So if maybe you are just now getting into thrillers or kind of wanting to see what it's about, this is a pretty quick, easy read. It talks about the Sinclair family. It talks about, if you ever read We Were Liars, if not, in We Were Liars, it talks about like a group of teens and their parents. Well, their parents are the kids in this book. And, you know, it just kind of talks about the family struggles, the family dynamics, how like some of the relatives are alcoholics or drug users, and then, you know, something tragic happens, and everyone is trying to sweep it under the rug, and you're just trying to figure out, like, in this family, what is the truth and what is a lie, and how much of the lie are you helping participate in, because everybody's helping participate in the lie of some sort in this book. So this is just like very interesting. It definitely has, if you are, you know, interested in a thriller, like family dynamics, like twists and turns, this might be a really good book for you. I personally felt like I knew what the ending, I knew what was going to come. There was like a part at the end where I kind of knew what was going to happen, and it did happen that way. But then there was another part where I was like, oh, you know what? I did not see that coming. But I don't think it was like so big in the story that it made it like revolutionary. Like it still just like went along with what had happened and what I thought happened. It's just, you know, another little person was like thrown in there that I wasn't expecting. So it was definitely really good. It was really good. This is, again, a really quick little series full of family drama. So if that's something that you're interested in, I think you would really like this. Again, if you're just like new to thrillers, want to like dip your toes in, not really for sure you want a lot of things with like trigger warnings or like anything like that, this is going to be a great place to start to kind of just like dip your toes in. Going to be Pizzini Evil of Men. The author, Steve, actually sent this to me, and he is super, super nice, super down to earth. I really enjoyed talking to him. This book is aesthetically pleasing. Like, you have like an eye, and it looks like something's like coming out of your eye, and you have like the shrooms, and you have like blood. And in the way though, like all of this combines into the story, but you would think it wouldn't, but it does. That's the interesting part. Again, check your trigger warnings. I wouldn't say this was like overly triggering, but there were a couple parts in it where I was just kind of like, oh, that's what he's doing. Oh, that's what we're doing. Okay. Not my first choice, but okay. Okay. You know, we all have fetishes, we all have fantasies, you know, and there is some death, dying, things like that in here. So just check any and all trigger warnings, okay? I don't have time to sit here and go through all of them with you. Just check your trigger warnings. But this is really good. This talks about the Pizzini family who comes over from Italy, and it kind of talks about their family from like so it's all kind of about Vincent. A lot of it is about Vincent, but it does start off with his grandparents, them coming over here, their kids, which is going to be Vincent's dad, and like kind of how like life goes with them. And then it just kind of talks about like how they're trying to make like a name and a place for themselves. And of course they're Italian and Jewish, but also not Jewish, if that makes any sense, and Christian, but also not Christian. It's very interesting how that works. But it just really kind of talks about like those family dynamics and kind of like a mafia. So if that's something that you're interested in, you know, like coming to America, kind of like a little bit of like history, family drama, things like that, you're definitely going to like this. This is definitely a lot of elements of like, what would you do for money? What are you willing to do to like your family, your friends, whatever the case may be, to ensure that you're going to keep continuing to get the money that you are hoping that you're going to continue getting. Does that make any sense? Like, if you were a millionaire and suddenly now you're making like $30,000 a year, well, you're not going to be able to keep up that lavish lifestyle, right? So what things would you be willing to do, or who would you be willing to murder, or who would you be willing to place in mental institutions, or who would you be willing to completely and totally just forget about ever existed in your life in order to maintain that? What would you do if you were wanting your life to go differently? What are you willing to do to leave the life behind without being the one to call it quits? And I think that like talks about that a lot in this book. Again, check trigger warnings. But this was really good. The only reason why this is ranked a little bit lower for me is there were a lot of people and events to remember. And for me, being an unmedicated person with ADHD, I just recently got the diagnosis, but I also am not medicated properly for it. So trying to remember a lot of details, a lot of people, a lot of details can sometimes be a lot and a little overwhelming. And there will be times I'll be like, I forgot all about this person. Who is this? Who? But if you're somebody with like good memory, you can follow along with like a lot of details, I think you're really going to enjoy this book. Number 4 is going to be The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce. Okay, this was super highly raved about, and while I think it was good, I don't necessarily know if I love it and the amount of hype that it got. So this was recommended because somebody had asked about like something that was like really like spooky vibes and almost kind of paranormal-ish, and I did not get that with this. I really didn't. And even on here it says it's The Shining but a full house, and I didn't get that either. But if you're looking for like a really good murder mystery, whodunit, there's a ton of suspects and it like keeps switching. There's family drama, all of that in there as well as some like history, some like creepy history, things like that. You're going to really enjoy this, and I did enjoy this book. It was definitely a lot of like characters where you're like, oh, I think that's who did it, and then you're like, wait a minute, what's happening, who did it, like who is doing this, how did this happen, what's going on? That's definitely in there. I will say though, there were just some parts of it that I just wasn't a fan of. First of all, it follows Ellen, and Ellen is there for her brother Isaac's engagement party, who actually used to be her best friend as a kid. Something tragic happens to her brother Sam, and she wants answers. She thinks that like the answers are going to lie, with her brother, and she's going to confront him at this thing. But like then she does, and just like the way it could have gone, I was just like, okay, that's the way they're choosing for this to go, for her to like find out the truth of what happened, and that's what happened. I was really disappointed in that. I was disappointed in that, okay, I just was. Then it never even addresses another like topic of concern, which is with the fiance that her brother is marrying. She would like to know like what happened between them as well, and like doesn't ever get those answers. And Ellen in a way is kind of a character that just really annoys the shit out of me. If we're going to be perfectly honest, she just annoys me. She really, really does. And it's like, girl, I know you have been hurt. I know you have a lot of trauma. I know there's a lot of things that you would like cleared up. But like the way you are treating your boyfriend, your job, all of those around you is just kind of driving me a little bit nuts. But I will say the ending was very shocking, very surprising. I was not expecting that, but I kind of was expecting that. I was half expecting it. That makes sense. I was half expecting it. And then just like to bring in like the history of like the sanatorium, because where they're going is like this hotel that had once been a sanatorium for people with tuberculosis, where before antibiotics, and then antibiotics came and it was eradicated, and then it just kind of laid empty. And so this architect who Isaac's fiance, who Laura works for, and he transforms this into like a 5-star hotel. However, then an avalanche comes, because it's up in the mountains, obviously. An avalanche comes and nobody can leave, and slowly people start dying. And Ellen is actually a detective. She's on leave from work for personal reasons, but she starts picking up on the case and trying to solve it since the police can't get there. And so that's like really, really good. And then the end, just kind of where it ties in the sanatorium aspect of it tying in the sanatorium aspect as well, and making a little bit more historical, as well as there's some like drama within like the sanatorium and the hotel. That was really good as well. So if you are somebody who likes a good murder mystery, I think this is going to be great for you. If you like some family drama as well, I think you'll like this. If you like a little bit of like historical fiction, you're gonna like this as well. It has all of that bundled up into one. Just for me personally, Ellen drove me insane. Okay, she drove me a little bit insane. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. She did. Number 3 is a shocking one. I still think it's shocking that this is number 3. But this is called I Am Watching You by Harvey Madison. This is a very short book. Like, do you see this? Okay, do you see how the pages are written, like how big that is? This is literally, it was like, 40 pages, something like that. And so for it to be ranked pretty high for it being 40 pages is really good. I will say check your trigger warnings, but I really don't think that this had like a ton of like trigger warnings as compared to like maybe some of the others. But this really had a very good beginning, middle, and end. And for 40 pages, I don't feel like you needed a ton of other stuff. I mean, there could have been additional like information included in there, but for it being 40 pages, giant font, for it to have a very good and precise beginning, middle, and end that flowed together, that just made sense, that I didn't really feel like I needed a whole lot of other like intricate details, was really good. So basically it is about this man who meets a young woman. She ends up dying, and then her twin sister comes to town, but he had no idea that she had a twin sister. He had no idea anything about her, and so he thought that it was her and starts kind of stalking her, and just thinking that it's always her. And the ending obviously threw me for a loop. It was really, really good. Again, it was really well written. Again, check your trigger warnings, but I honestly didn't think that there was a lot of triggers in this. My number 2 book was so good and yet so annoying. I hate that. I hate that so much, when you're just like reading a really good book and you're like, wow, this is good, I love this, and then you're like, wow, this is really annoying at the same time. And that is going to be The Good Samaritan by John Mars. Okay, this is my first book from him, and I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this. This is 1000% about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Again, check trigger warnings. But this is about Laura, who works at a suicide hotline, and it's called End of the Line. And where she works is in the States, so UK. She lives in the UK. They had decriminalized suicide. So End of the Line is just supposed to be somebody that's there to talk to you. They're not supposed to persuade you one way or the other. They're just there to listen to you. That is what they're there for. However, Laura really likes to push people over the edge, and she has helped countless people in their lives until she meets somebody named Stephen, who is not actually Stephen. It is a husband of one of her clients who she had helped kill herself. And there is just so much in this book that was just so good, so heartbreaking, so gut-wrenching, that there were multiple times that I just cried. I just cried. Now, the reason why this is not my number 1, because I really think this could have been like the epic of epic books, is number 1, I hated the way it ended. If you've read this and you know. I'm not going to ruin this for anybody, but like the way it ended with the daughter, like, what? Like, it was such a cliffhanger, and there's not going to be another book. Like, that's the thing. And next of all, I wouldn't want there to be another book, for the next reason why I didn't like that. And that is because some of the things that happened in here between Ryan and Laura, because Ryan's trying to bring Laura down, and Laura will stop at nothing so that way she can continue on her mission. She thinks this is her mission in life, and like she will stop at nothing to make sure that like none of this happens. And it just gets like very far-fetched, if we're gonna be honest. This gets extremely far-fetched, and I am just like, okay, at this point I think we're grasping at straws here to try to make the drama go longer. But I feel like just like the beginning sucked me in, the ending sucked me in until like the very, very end. The very, very end with the daughter, that I was just like, this is how it's ending. But like also does end up happening with Laura, what does end up happening with her life, and just like everything else like that. It's almost like a train wreck. Like whenever you're like reading and it's like going in your brain, right? Like you like are envisioning it. If you're one of those people that envisions everything going on in your head, like it's a movie playing in your head, it's like, wow, this is a train wreck. I can't look away. I know I need to look away. I should look away. I want to look away, but I can't look away. Like that sort of a thing is what this book is. And I think it could have been so good had it not been so outlandish, or had the ending, you know what, maybe the ending had even been different. I may have been like, no, this is revolutionary, but it's just those two things. It just got to me. It just did. My number one book came as a little bit of a shock to me for this being number one, because I'm gonna be honest here. I'm not really like a huge history person. I like very specific things from history. I like very specific things about history. There are very specific things I want like to learn about history, right? I don't want to learn about all of history, but like there are some topics that I really like. This one I did not think I was going to like, but this was recommended off Book Talk. A lot of these books were. And I gave it a shot, and this was so good, eye-opening, gut-wrenching, and a hard one to grip. And that is going to be Kill Anything That Moves: The Real American War in Vietnam by Nick Turse. Wow. My grandpa served in Vietnam. He will never ever talk about that. He never does. I honestly did not even know that he had served in the military until recently. He never talks about it. He never wears anything. He never, like, nothing. Like, he just never says anything. And I think it was just very recently that I was, like, at his house and something had been mentioned and I had no idea. Well, this is probably why. Okay. The atrocities, the absolute atrocities that we as Americans did. Now, I am not going to sit there and say I would know how I would react, how I would respond in a situation like this, because I don't know. But I will say, I don't think this necessarily always has everything to do with like all the soldiers. I think that this book does talk about just like how like the chain of command, or how we as Americans are willing to sweep things underneath the rug as long as there's not a lot of scandal surrounding the military in the United States. Like the amount of depravity that we are willing to cover up for the sake of, I don't even know what the sake is, for the American military not to look bad, I guess. I don't know. It's wild. This is a very well written book. Number one. Number two, this is a very well researched, this book, all in all, when you're reading, okay, reading just front to back, is only like 200 and something pages, like 262 pages. The rest of the book is literally from all of the people he has talked to, the documents he has requested and read, the documents from other soldiers, diaries, going to Vietnam and talking to people, getting the archives from there, looking at the statues that they made to remember those that were like massacred by us and assaulted by us and all the other terrible things. And it's just like gut-wrenching. And there were just like parts in here where it says that like if one person, one or two people had not spoken out about what was going on in certain areas, no one would know to this day. And what's also so scary is that someone had reported the military multiple times. They were in the military and they were still serving when they were doing their reporting. And finally, one of their lawyers was like, listen, you're still in the military. Like, you need to zip it and finish your time before you go, because the military can make, not necessarily that they make people, but like it's just amazing how people in the military can just up and disappear. Or she also told him how, you guys might be, out on a mission and suddenly, you're accidentally killed in crossfire by your own people. The shady things, it's just the shadiness of it. And my heart just broke. It just broke for the women, men, and children who had lost their lives, been severely injured, been assaulted, all of the above, lost their homes, lost their food, lost their crops, are still suffering from the effects and the damage to this day, same as our American soldiers are as well. Agent Orange, they just went over and just sprayed all their crops with Agent Orange, just killing everything. It was just so wild. If I'm not, again, I'm not a huge history person. I like to learn about very specific things and things about those things, and I'm just not just going to pick up a history book for the, meat and potatoes of it. Like, I just am not. So for that to be ranked number one, it was very, very good. I had to put that down multiple times. I had to take a break. I had to breathe. I had to step away. I had to vent to my best friend. There was a lot where I was just like, this is a lot. I need a minute to compose myself. So that book was honestly just so good. If you are interested in the Vietnam War, if you like history, maybe if you don't like history but also are curious like I was, 1000% would recommend. If you just absolutely hate anything history, anything war related, you wouldn't be able to get through it, this may not be the book for you, and that's okay. But if it's something you can stomach, if it's again, check trigger warnings, because I'm pretty sure it's just all triggers at this point. And it's true, right? The other ones are like, oh, it's trigger warnings, but just know it's just a book and it's fake. This happened. So I would 100% recommend it. But again, think about what you like, what you enjoy, and base off that. Base which books of these you would like to read off of that. Those are ranking all of the 7 books that I had read in the month of July. Let me know what books you have read. Let me know what your favorite book was that you read this month. Let me know what is on your to be read list for the month of August. Let me know if there's any books you think I should check out and read. Just let me know all of that down below. Okay, just let me know. Again, if you enjoyed this video, definitely give this video a thumbs up. If you know of other people that might enjoy books like these, make sure you guys share this video. If you guys want to be notified talking about more books on my channel, make sure you guys have subscribed. Books aren't really your thing, but makeup is, or maybe books and makeup are your thing. Make sure you guys have subscribed as well. And I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.